Yo, it's me again. So I was recently listening to Josh Miller, who I'm a big fan of, who's the CEO of the browser company, talk about why create Dia, which is their new browser, as opposed to Arc. If you didn't know that whole situation, their first product, Arc, was a browser that was a little bit more intentional, a little bit more thoughtful, and people started to love it. And then they announced late last year that they were going to not scrap it, but just stop building features on that and start working on a new product called Dia, which is essentially an AI powered browser that's completely, hopefully, going to reimagine the browser experience. And what he said in there is exactly what I feel most AI products should be. And he said something that essentially how should I put this? The perspective was, why can't a product ever be done? Like back in the day, it used to be done, right? You would get a renewal product, so you would buy a license for a product, and you would get it on a or on a CD, and you would upload it to your hard drive, and then that was your product. And then the next year you would buy the next version of that product, right? But sometimes you would just buy the product. And now that we are so subscriptioned out as a community of people who use software, everything has to be a subscription, which means that everything has to be added on. And I don't think that that's necessarily the right way that I'm going to go about building products. When I think about Double Me, it is to solve a singular problem. It is to solve a problem of taking meetings. I hate taking meetings. It was also to solve a problem that I knew I had a lot of products I wanted to build, and I needed someone to sell that. And I don't have money to hire anyone, and I don't like meetings, and I don't also like sales. So I basically built a salesperson that's unlimited, right? And so in that, it becomes, okay, well, what features does it need? What features does it not need? And what features should we add and what features should we not add? So when someone says, hey, can it do follow-up emails? It's like, it could, but I don't want to do OAuth through Google APIs. Not because I can't, I just don't want it to be added bloat on the product. It is literally to take and make phone calls. And then it sends you all the information about the phone call after that. But everything that requires to take and make that phone call. You need CRM, you need a calendar, you need a Calendly type thing that you can send to someone so that they can book a call to kick off the whole Double Me thing. You need to be able to have your voice cloned or choose a voice. You need to be able to edit you need to be able to edit the prompts and first message and knowledge base of each one of the doubles so that they can be different. So you can have unlimited doubles, not just unlimited doubles like I'm using it, but what if you're a CEO of a large company? You might want a double for every department that you head if you have 10,000 employees, and you might want an investor relations double to help you with working with hedge funds or whatever. So that was Double Me. But I don't think it needs to go further than that. When you think about founder PR, there are a lot of things that it is, but it's mostly just a way for people to cold email journalists. It doesn't need to be more than that. I thought about, again, using OAuth to have it so that it populates in your Gmail. And I thought, nah, if I'm just trying to solve a problem that I experienced, the experience wasn't sending the email automatically. It was researching, finding the journalist's email, and then quickly generating, based off of my company profile, a cold email to say, hey, I would also like to talk to you about this. So you see what I mean? So Quarter chats is the same way. Reference one is just reference checks. It's not used to do interviews. We are building an interview product that will be used to use interviews, but we're not going to build an interview product for reference checking, and we're not going to put reference checking in our interview product. See what I mean? They're going to probably work together. One, to help us double the revenue, but two, more so that it keeps down the scope of what we're trying to build here. So yeah, we'll take suggestions on products that we build, but at some point the product is actually done. And I think that is where things are probably headed as far as like people who are building using AI or people who are building AI products. Because if you're building an agentic coding platform, your eye cannot be on the ball on enough things to not get beat. You're seeing that now, right? Granola is not going to get beat. Never used that product, but I've heard it's amazing. I've just never needed the product because, again, I hate meetings. So why would I then sign up for meetings? I built Double Me, which has its own granola built in, but that's not important. But now OpenAI just launched a thing that allows OpenAI to sit on meetings and then create memory based on that. So then you could easily like query them and search them or combine them with Google Docs and Google Drive and all these types of things and your email and your GitHub repo to create this like almost second brain, right? That was a little creepy to think about. Reminded me of a movie. And so in that regard, it was Battle for LA. I don't want you to think it was a horror movie. I hate horror movies. But in that regard, I thought like, okay, they're not going to take granola. That's not what's going to happen. They're going to prevent people from needing to go to granola. So granola is probably going to have their little subs. It's the same thing as Superhuman, right? Like Superhuman didn't kill Gmail, but Gmail also didn't kill Superhuman. It's kind of like a symbiotic relationship in that way that's a little bit competitive, but not really. The same way is going to happen. But however, people are still using AI to build out new features for new ideas, but they're not building out new use cases because like what would granola look like for elderly communities? What would it look like? What would it look like if you could have granola in every room in your elderly community and or in public rooms because you want to respect privacy and just like listen in on the conversations and then figure out like who's having problems with who, what doctors might be not treating the patients well. Like you basically are keeping like an understanding to help improve the value and the quality of life of the people who live there with their consent, of course. And you're able to search through all that and just be like, okay, like which one of the nurses are not on time with their feeding. And then you can do some retraining around that to improve the quality of life. So there's lots of these different ways that people are looking at. They're always trying to build a new feature, but sometimes I wonder about the new use case. And then once you build a use case, you can, yes, try and build $1 billion company on that specific use case, but the chances that another company is going to either beat you to the punch or have more money than you in 2025 and moving forward is very high because now VCs are starting to get used to a lot of founders raising less money for higher valuations if they're using AI in their product, which means that it's setting the market. So if you're building a future AI product, you might not be able to compete with a company that has $1 billion in their back pocket because VCs got used to all seed companies only asking for 1 to 3 million to only use for compute and not to use for engineering or building. So that means that you have to start building more before you go to VCs. See what I mean? Like you start to interact with these situations where it almost makes sense to build a finite product, build out your revenue, maybe even build out your team. And then when you need to expand to go into either other categories, build agents, agentic, build adjacent products or serve a different category, which means you might have to have different features like putting single sign-on on your product to have enterprise feature or bank level security and encryption on all of your data or HIPAA compliance. Like you might need money to be able to do that or SOC 2. But you don't need the money to build it. So then all of a sudden, like VC is all weird, right? Because if I only need $25,000 to hire a freelancer or hire an agent even to build out these new features of my product, and then I'll spin that back down, and now like I have a new feature of my product that's now going to make me 250 grand that I only spent 25,000 for. Why do I need to raise 250 grand from a VC? I just need a $25,000 loan to make 250. Or I need a $25,000 revenue based investment to make 250. So I think all these things are going to change pretty soon. And I only wanted this video to be 5 minutes, and now we're at 10 because I think it's so interesting about what this thing could be and how product and company building and venture creation will shift, but also how the capital allocation of these industries will also shift based on right now what's happening like in your backyard, right in front of your face. And maybe not in front of your face. I'm fortunate to be able to study this stuff full time. And I think it's going to be remarkable how things turn out in the future. And who knows where we'll be. But in the meantime, it's going to be fun building. See ya.